Alright, so in this video, I found this awesome game file that wasn't programmed. They're all like my other game file videos. This wasn't programmed. It was in Cycles or Blender Render. I downloaded this from BlendSwap. I turned this into a Blender game feature, and then I programmed it. Now I know I'm dealing all with vehicles and specifically programming, but that's the kind of point that I'm trying to show. So let me show you what this file does. We move these with the mouse movement, and it just moves the machine, like the machine guns and stuff like that, the rockets. When I press M, it shoots. So I'm going to show you the logic that's required for this, this, and this. So the first thing that we're going to start with is this. So automatically we see something. When I press, you see how there's a bullet within a bullet or a missile within a missile? We can see that here. There's a missile that has a missile inside of it. It's using that X-ray feature here. This is one way you can shoot something. So if I press P, we don't see that missile. But when I press M, it fires. So it's definitely there. And let me show you how I made this. So I press M for my sensor. That leads to the actuator. Here's the direction that I had for the actuator. I think I can't really read it. I don't have it on, but you certainly can look. It's simple motion, and then I join it together, and that forms the controller. Now let me demonstrate one more time. This moves in a direction as well. So this highlighted portion here has an actuator of the y-axis, and we'll show you it moves in the up and down direction, but it has a sensor of movement. And this is mouse sensor. So I just move my mouse over here, and it plays. So I move the mouse, it goes up and down. It's directed by the mouse. This portion here is slightly different. It's still a mouse movement sensor, but it has an x-axis actuator. So, and then this portion down here, the base of this contraption, has an x-axis, and that still is mouse movement. So you're not really limited with the sensor of mouse movement in this logic or programming that you're trying to show. So you really have a wide variety of options that you can use, especially if you're trying to make like a video game. Now all these are very similar, so I'm just going to briefly show you the other ones. But this is generally the movement. Let me show you one real quick aspect here. So I have the X and Y turned off, and I'm going to show you why. So I put my mouse over here. It's not moving. So I'm going to turn on the X. I'm not going to turn on the Y because you just have to steer. So let me show you. It steers and it travels like a car would in Grand Theft Auto, or like a car would in any other video game that you have. But this is the general logic. There's probably more things you can do, like you can make the wheels turn on the tires or whatever. Like you can make the tires turn rather. I think that would be a dope sheet. I'm not really sure how you would make the tires turn to like simulate like a real car moving or a real truck moving. But it requires a mouse movement sensor and an X-axis actuator. It requires a keyboard sensor with the up arrow, forming a controller, and then an actuator in this direction, as you can see on the screen. So let me go in these two contraptions in the next video. Thank you. So in this part of the video, we're going to look at this portion right here. Let me zoom in. This portion right here, the logic behind this portion, and the logic behind this portion. So if I hit P, let me do one thing real quick. Let me turn this off, just so that I can solely isolate it and show you the game logic. So the first two contraptions that are moving is what I'm going to show you, and their logic behind how they are programmed. So I don't really know what this thing does. It originally was a gun. I took the gun off. It could be like a radar or whatever, radar sensor, like you have in a game, like a Star Wars game or something. It just has that aesthetic effect, and I just think it's really neat looking because in games that you make, it sometimes just matters on how it looks rather than what it does, and I think it looks good enough. So here's the X-axis actuator. It's a mouse actuator, forms that sensor here. And then here's the mouse movement sensor. So this is very basic. This one is mouse movement as well as X-axis as well. So it just moves in this direction. The last portion that we're dealing with is the machine gun. I didn't make this shoot because you've seen my other shooting videos. If you really want to learn how to make something shoot, look back in the other videos that I made. But this has X and Y direction, so I'm going to show you them both isolated. So let's say I just use X direction. How am I limited? Let me press P. So that's what happens if I'm only in X direction. Now what happens if I use only Y direction? You're going to see in a minute. It just goes up. We're dealing with the front gun here. So what happens if I use both now? Sorry. Then it goes up and in this direction. And you see how they all kind of like sync to one another. So if I press M, it shoots. Let me show you something really, really neat. Hold up, let me just try to position myself. This is the awesome thing about Blender, is that you can kind of like shoot in the screen. Oh, sorry. So I press P, and it shoots like right in the screen. I think that's really neat. But these are just the basic applications that you can use in game design with like things that would be more complicated than you would ever really think of. So just for one more time, here is just the contraptions that I basically programmed. Thank you.